Well, it's taken a little over a year for us to end up jettisoning the one player that we'd waited 18 months to sign in the first place. This was the player we had to get right. This was the player who was pivotal to our system. 18 months before we signed Gianluca Scamacca, we sold Sebastian Haller at a £20 million loss, may I add. But we sold Haller, and David Moyes declared, I've got the money here to buy a striker. Now, it took us a long time to sign this player, which I'm assuming means it took us a long time to identify this player, to identify this one player who would be perfect to our system. For 18 months, we laboured along with just Michail Antonio ploughing a lonely furrow up front. We were nervous the whole time, thinking, when is this player who is injury prone, talking about Antonio obviously, when is he going to break down? How much will this hinder us? How much will it cost us? I think it was actually miraculous the way we kept Antonio fit for the majority of that 18 months. Was really, really good. I think we got a little boost during that time because we brought Jesse Lingard in, which really helped. But we seem to take an age to identify Haller's replacement, Antonio's replacement, whatever you want to call him. Anyway, that guy turned out to be Gianluca Scamacca, £35 million from Serie A, and it's failed. It's been an absolute abject failure. I'm not going to go into sort of recriminations. I don't know who signed him. I'm far from convinced Moyes, I bloody hope Moyes didn't sign him. I mean, it's obvious he wasn't suited to his system, but I'm far from convinced Rob Newman signed him, far from convinced that David Sullivan signed him. Truth of the matter is, I don't bloody know. What I do know is collectively they couldn't come to the conclusion on who would suit West Ham, and they went and signed this player, which I think is a real shame for the player. Expect I was going to say on your newsreel, you haven't got a newsreel, just expect your mates to be WhatsApping you through the season and saying, oh, look, there you go, Scamacca's scored again. That's what I expect to happen. He's a decent player, and, well, what can I say? It's abject failure. Are we in for a new striker? We bloody well better be, that's for sure. The news today is that we've made a bid for Dominic Solanke, isn't it? Now, he was the guy that he played for Bournemouth, played really, really well for England under 21s. It would have been a few years ago now. I think he's probably in his mid-20s, probably 25, 26, something like that now. But Bournemouth signed him. Eddie Howe signed him from Liverpool for about £19 million. He played loads of times for Liverpool, scored like 1 or 2 goals, something like that. Good player, played really well in the Championship. I think last season for Bournemouth, when I read the article that I read this morning, it said that he scored 6 goals in the Premier League for Bournemouth last season. I got two minds about this signing. Well, firstly, I think we can sign someone better than Dominic Solanke. The two minds are, okay, do I think the 6 goals is too few? Yeah, it's not pulling up many trees. The other thing is, do I think he'd suit David Moyes' system? I do. But that in itself, him suiting David Moyes' system, rings alarm bells, really, because I'm not sure what direction the club are going in. Right, before I go any further, this video is sponsored by the OneFootball app. Now, I'm assuming we're going to buy some players because we seem to be selling quite a lot of them. And if what you want to do is keep up to date with who we're linked with and who we're buying, then you could do much worse than download that OneFootball app. First of all, it's free. It doesn't cost you a penny. If you don't like it, you can just uninstall it. But I don't think you will, because it's a very, very good app. When you do download it, it'll ask you who you support. You tell it West Ham, and it'll provide you with all the latest West Ham news, not just transfer gossip. It'll give you the team lineups on match day. It'll give you injury news. It'll give you everything that you want to know pertaining to our wonderful club, West Ham United, because it goes searching around the internet for all the West Ham stories, so you don't have to. Check it out. The link is below, or the QR code up there somewhere or other. Now, the Solanke deal, I'm a little bit worried about this, because if we do sign him, he's not prolific, and I think he suits David Moyes' system, then that really gives a full indication of what we're doing and what we're looking to do here. I guess in one part, it's not one of these sort of ageing journeymen that we're looking to purchase. I do quite like him. I think he's fast. I think he's strong. I think he's got good technical ability. What I think he really lacks is a bit of an eye for goal, truth be known. But I actually think he would possibly do all right for West Ham. I really do, and bring some much-needed pace to the attack. But this is a sort of lowering the levels. This is a springboard and a position that really we should be building from. We won a European trophy last year, and I would expect us, I know we've lost our captain, we lost a really good player, but I'd expect us to try and improve. I don't see Solanke as being that. I just don't see Solanke. as an improvement. Basically, if you were to chart it back and think, OK, we lost Sebastian Haller. Sebastian Haller was a big deal because we paid, 42 million for Frankfurt for him. That was a signal of intent at the time. That was our record transfer. That's us saying, right, we're going for the top players. We're going for the best up-and-coming talent in Europe. And then if you sort of travel forward in time and get to, everything that's happened, and we end up with Solanke, then he's not one of the best players in Europe. He's really not. He's okay. That's it. I think he's okay, and I think he's suited to David Moyes' system. But, I mean, you don't see Arsenal or Man City or Chelsea or anyone else queuing up for his services. Tottenham aren't going to line him up as Harry Kane's replacement. He's an okay player who may at some point reach double figures in the Premier League, but he's never done that as yet. I just look at it and I see Dominic Solanke and I see 42 million. I think, well, what happened to that? Where's that gone? That's not particularly good. I'm assuming we're in for a striker. We better bloody be in for a striker, that's for sure, because what we can't do, we cannot let Mubama lead the line. I think he's going to be a good player and I think he'll do well for West Ham. But at the moment, in that team, with the club, with the clouds hanging over it that there are, I think that almost absolutely destroy him playing one up front and having no support. This will be a complaint for anyone that plays for West Ham, by the way. No support, lack of support. I'm talking about forwards here. There was the rumour the other day that Jarrod Bowen wouldn't be looking to sign a new deal at West Ham under the current management structure. When I looked at that, and I sort of agree with Gio, Jarrod Bowen has as much reason as anyone to be thankful for David Moyes. David Moyes has worked out for Jarrod Bowen. But then I look back to it, and I think any forward probably thinks, I'm just isolated in this system. Jarrod Bowen is a really hard worker and he's a grafter. He probably doesn't want to do the amount of defending he has to do under David Moyes. I mean, he probably knows under other managers he can be allowed to attack more, which means he'll be in forward positions more, which means ultimately he's going to score more goals. So I just think you've got to be a very specific type of player to want to come and play for West Ham under the current model. Now, it doesn't mean that no players will sign for defensive teams. They do. We've got to look at the fella in Spain. Simeone, he's a defensive manager. Players go and sign for him. I understand there's a difference in levels between the clubs here, but we are in Europe. So players will sign for us. But I'm far from convinced we're going to go and get a good striker and get the right striker. I've noticed Jonathan David has been named, has been mentioned in the last couple of days. Now, I'll come clean with you here. I've not looked at Jonathan David probably since about 18 months ago when it was rumoured, maybe 18 months, a year ago, certainly before we signed Scamacca, when we were rumoured to be interested in him. And I had a look at him, and I think he looks a really good player, by the way. Really, really good player. But what I did is one look at him and think, under David Moyes, I'd love us to sign him. But I look at him, I think, it's not whether I would like to sign him. I look at him and appraise any player. Would David Moyes want to sign this player? The truth of the matter is, I look at Dominic Solanke and I think, yeah, okay, David Moyes would sign him. I looked at Jonathan David and I thought, no, I just don't think David Moyes would sign him at all. And that's a massive shame because we just don't play with enough forwards. Unless you were going to see some ridiculous overhaul of we were going to start playing 3-5-2 and he was going to start playing with two strikers, then maybe, just maybe. But we've not seen any evidence. I mean, look, we've just had pre-season. There was no, I mean, you couldn't really say there was any, never mind tactics, there was any cohesive strategy in terms of getting a settled team out there. The whole thing looks a mess at the moment, and it's really, really hard to look forwards, to look ahead to the Bournemouth game with anything other than trepidation, really. I'm sorry to say that. It is very much the case. We need a forward, and we need to get one now. We've taken so long. Still, as I record this, we have not signed Declan Rice's replacement. So how long is it going to take us to sign a forward, for goodness sake? I think it's going to take ages. I would hope not. I would hope this hasn't come as a surprise. Oh, my goodness. Oh, look, Scamacca's leaving. There's a surprise. We better start scouting some forwards. But nothing would surprise me at West Ham. You would have thought that Declan Rice's replacement would have been lined up a year ago. He hasn't. Now, as I record this, we may well announce Edson Alvarez. I bloody hope we do. I hope I'm back up on your phone or your screen or whatever you're watching this on later on today, saying, hey, West Ham has signed Edson Alvarez. I'll probably be a little bit more enthusiastic than hey, the moustache will come off. I'm hoping, unless he costs 24 million. Imagine that. But it's taken a long time. It's taken a very, very long time for us to identify and us to sign a Declan Rice replacement, which makes the forward thing, I mean, it's hard. It is hard, isn't it, at the moment at West Ham? It's really hard to be sort of enthusiastic about any part of it, really. And you know, a shame on them at the club for sucking the joy and sucking the life out of what is usually a really good part of the season. Pre-season, the build-up is a time of excitement, ordinarily. It's a time I really look forward to. And believe me, I'm trying. I try not to be negative. I absolutely do, but it's hard, isn't it? You know, and they suck the enjoyment out of it. It was really, really difficult. Anyway, look, we'll deal with all the pre-Bournemouth stuff in the next few days because we'll have build-up shows and previews and all the normal stuff you're used to seeing. And Hammer's chat does look like Vlasic is off very, very soon. So, you know, as it stands at the moment, the only person that's gone so far is obviously Declan Rice. But Scamacca's really close. Like, could be announced today. Honestly, you could see the thing where Atalanta do the whole social media thing. Could happen today. Vlasic could happen tomorrow. I understand Edson Alvarez is close, but he's still in Mexico, apparently. So when the two clubs agree a fee, he's going to fly over from Mexico. And I saw it on the ticker tape on Sky Sports News this morning. It said West Ham close to agreeing a deal for Edson Alvarez. All that needs to be agreed is the fee and the payment structure. I thought, well, that's the deal, isn't it? That's still like the whole bloody negotiation. Basically, the fee and then what they're going to pay it over, the term they're going to pay it over. What? That's still the negotiation. I understand we might have had permission to talk with the player and we've agreed his wages. Okay, that's good. But it sounds like there's a lot going on. I'm far from confident that we're going to wrap any of these deals up quickly. Do I think eventually this thing's going to come off because we'll sign a senior player at more than 25 million? Yes, I do. But we're at such a disadvantage. We're weeks behind everybody else. I don't know how we think we can keep. It's so amateurish the way we behave. Anyway, I'm going to slip into another rant. If I'm not careful. Keep your eyes out on the news today. There'll be a lot more coming, I'm sure.